Hello and welcome to the 100% United podcast. Two Reds giving our opinions and discussing all the news surrounding our beloved Manchester United. I'm your host TC and this is my co-host Scott. Hi Scott.
Hello mate, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you very much. What about yourself?
Oh, another 3 points mate. I think you know how I'm doing.
Yeah, I think you know how I'm doing as well, buddy. As Scott's touched on there, we're going to be looking back on another win on the road for Manchester United tonight. 2 goals from Romelu Lukaku and a clincher from skipper Ashley Young was enough for a hard-fought 3-1 victory at Selhurst Park. You enjoy that, buddy?
Yeah, it was a bit nerve-wracking at the end. A lot of relief at the final whistle, but, a bit different from last year. There was a bit more relief from the third goal from Nemanja Matic, but very happy with the result today.
Absolutely, and of course we went 2-0 ahead. It seemed like we were cruising away, and then diving header put it back to 2-1. A bit nervy for a few minutes there, but again, I think we showed our character under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. What do you think?
I thought we were great until we conceded that goal. To be honest, actually, until Dave hit his knee against the post, and then everything gets a bit nervy when De Gea's not at 100%. And then when they did score, you just think, oh God, here it goes again. But you're right, completely different United these days, and we held our own, and we kept it going, and we were great in the end.
Absolutely, and let's set the scene a bit here. I mean, we're absolutely shorn of first team starters. We've got all kinds of people playing out of position, people playing who have not been on form, not been in the team, but we keep the momentum, we keep the same results, and to be honest with you, it's reminiscent of the Fergie years where you're forced into changes or you do changes off your own back as a manager. And you seem to keep the same momentum, which excites me greatly.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, mate. If any team has a player like Paul Pogba in there, you can rotate players around him, and usually everything's going to be all right. I mean, him and De Gea were just fantastic again tonight. Victor Lindelof in the middle, and I thought the fullbacks, Luke Shaw, Ashley Young, both the spine of the team, if you will, we kept that intact. I mean, Pogba was outrageous again tonight. Even with his white hair.
I was going to say, I mean, you touched on Pogba starring again. That assist at the end there, absolutely unbelievable. But again, a more mature showing from Pogba, I think. When he needs to play a bit more as a midfielder, he does it. When he needs to play as a bit more of a number 10, he does it. And it's something we didn't see under Jose. And again, it's another plus point that Ole's bringing to the club. I know you're very impressed with him, if not his haircut tonight, Scott.
I love his leadership qualities these days, mate. I think back in the Mourinho days, he was playing his own style, but it wasn't to the liking of the manager. I just feel like Ole just says, "Listen, mate, you know what to do. Just go out, do your own thing, and we'll be all right."
I think Mourinho missed a trick there. I think he didn't spot that Pogba doesn't react well to that just almost sort of minute to minute scrutiny. Pogba is a magician of a player when you let him fly, and I do think looking back now. Obviously, we debated at the time whether Mourinho was the one causing the problems or whether Pogba was the one causing problems. It was probably a bit of both, but ultimately, it's down to the manager to get the performances out of the players. And I must say, our manager right now is doing exactly that.
When we look back at the Fergie years, you had Roy Keane in the middle, and he never put a foot wrong. Right? He played short, simple passes. He always defended, and he always tracked back. And everything he did was for the best interest in the team. And Paul Pogba is a very, very different player from that. He tries outrageous things, and when they don't come off, it seems like he's not trying sometimes. But in the end, he is a great leader, and he leads by example. So not everything he does comes off, but the things he does it's outrageous.
Yeah, you're right, and he has a sort of positive spirit as well. Which I would say let's harness rather than push down.
Yeah,
let's spread that positivity around the team rather than try and push him down like I think Mourinho did try to do.
I just think he's enjoying his football so much more these days, and you and me, we always speak about strikers are twice the players when they have a bit of confidence in them, and I think that midfielders, when they're enjoying their football, they're at the peak of their powers.
To be honest with you, Scott, you can forget about Paul Pogba. I'm enjoying my football more at the moment. I think everyone in the Manchester United world is enjoying their football more at the moment. I mean, it's been like this is just it's unbelievable what's going on at the moment. I mean, we've got a player he was managing an ex-player. He's managing at Mulder. He comes in on an interim basis because we basically run out of options and we don't know what to do. And within, what are we talking about, 3 months, less than 3 months? And he's gained more points than any other team. He probably scored more goals than any other team. That might not be right. He was certainly playing with the most swagger in the league at the moment, and we just look unbeatable, Scott. I mean, we look like every time we go out, we're going to answer the questions that are asked.
It just feels like we've got a team that we're proud of again. It feels so much longer than 2 months and a week ago since we lost to Anfield, and you had to talk me off the ledge that day. It was just a horrible day to be a Red, or be a United fan, I should say, and it just feels like we're a million miles away from that now. We don't go into these games with any dread, and I know we lost the first leg a couple of weeks ago, but when we got drawn against Paris Saint-Germain back in December, we all looked at that and thought, "Oh my God, how many are we going to lose by then?" And then once the game came around, we were sitting there saying, "We're going to win this." No one went to Old Trafford the other day thinking we were going to lose 2-0, and it's just a huge shift in attitude, and it just feels like we got our real beloved Reds
It
back.
really does, Scott. I mean, the atmosphere around the stadium, the atmosphere obviously around the team. You can see the change, and the atmosphere around the fans, even online, because obviously online is the most where the most animosity lies. I mean, I would say, I mean, do you think there is one Manchester United fan in the world who is not happy with us at the moment? Is there one? I mean, there probably is. There's always one nutter, isn't there?
Well, yeah,
Exactly.
the old I could do
What's
better.
he got on his CV and all the rest of it?
It's...
But percentage-wise, we're talking less than 0.0001% of United fans are not absolutely over the moon at the moment.
Well, I've known you a long time. We met watching United, and our love of the Reds, we sort of made us as good of friends as we become. And I can always say you've been as positive as the most positive person there ever has been. But now there's a difference to you now, that there's a lot of belief behind what you say instead of just being positive for positive's sake. You actually believe in it.
I always
these days.
believe in it, Scott. But when
More
you've
than
got
you used
Moisey
to.
and Louis van Gaal and Mourinho blooming punching at your ribs all the time, it gets a bit tricky. But I must say, I did say to you back in December, didn't I, when you were on that ledge, I did say, listen, mate, you never know what can happen in life and football. Someone could come in and we could just go on a mad run. You never know what will happen. I did actually say that, and yet you did think I was a lunatic.
I did.
And so would everyone else. And let's look at it. Like I say, he came from Mulder. He was not, if say, for instance, Everton were looking for a manager, they wouldn't even have considered Ole. Wouldn't even have considered him. And although people say, oh, he's brought...
I don't think he could have got his job back at Cardiff.
No chance. And then they've got Neil Warnock there. But he brought the atmosphere back to the club. He's brought the passion back to the club. But I'm seeing more to Ole. I'm seeing a tactical awareness and a manipulation of the media and the players that, to me, is top level.
Well, he learned from the best, didn't he?
He did learn from the best. And you know what? He was sitting next to him most of the time as well. And Fergie always said that the thing that impressed him about Ole was when he was on the bench, he was studying the opposition. He was studying the mistakes a defender might make, or he's turning slowly a certain way. And he'd tell,
And don't forget the last few years of his career at United, he spent managing the reserves, and you can go to Fergie every day of the week and ask him what he thinks about this and that, and Fergie would have given his opinion and given his advice about everything. And I used to say to you over the last few years that we need someone just to come in and steer the ship. We're a juggernaut of a team. We don't need these people coming in and applying their philosophies and applying their wills. We just need someone to come in and realise we're Manchester United. We do what we want, and we carry on going.
And it just works, doesn't it? It's just right. It just feels right. I mean, you know how much I love Ole. I know how much you love Ole. I mean, I know you've got a picture of Ole scoring the winner in the new camp up on your wall.
Yeah, I've done for 10 years.
And that's not one of 100. You've got a couple of pictures, and that's the main piece. I mean, I remember back when I was a kid, worshipping Ole, getting caricatures, buying caricatures, getting them sent of the baby-faced assassin. And I just thought he was just the best guy ever. He's so positive. But I must say, and I've argued the point before that Ollie getting a statue at Old Trafford would be a lot higher on my list of priorities than a lot of other players. And I did say it tongue in cheek at the time, just because I love him so much. But now he's just taking it to another level, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he almost deserved a statue just from his antics in '99, to be honest with you. But whenever I look at him now, I just think it couldn't have happened to a nicer guy, to be honest with you. And he just understands us, and he's just basically a fan who's sitting in that seat doing what all of us would want to do anyway.
Yeah, and what I like about him as well is he's one of those really nice guys that's got a very obvious line. And you see it with the press, you see it with players. When someone tries to push him near that line, he makes it very clear where the line is and that you're not coming past it. He's not a walkover, he's not a pushover at all. He's actually a very, very strong-minded guy, but he just does it all with a smile on his face, which I think suits our club actually very, very well.
He's got that same predatory instinct he had as a striker, as a manager, it seems. And I think that when you've got a face like his that just wouldn't say boo to a ghost, it looks like he can get away with anything, but he's as hard-willed as you could possibly imagine.
Absolutely. And you know what? One thing I've always admired about Ollie, and he's only continuing this trend, is to me he's the master of just grabbing the opportunity. You never know how an opportunity is going to come up, but Ollie's always ready for the opportunity. Now he could have sat on the bench all those years, moaning and whinging, like some of the players do these days. He could have come to the job in December, and he could have come in and said, "Look, I'm just going to tiptoe around here, do a good job, and walk out the door." He was never coming to be interim manager, Scott. As soon as he got offered that job, he was thinking, right, what can I do to make this job permanent? He's the master of taking opportunities. Yeah. And I don't know where he's going to take us, mate, but I'm dreaming big.
To be honest with you, it's the kind of thing I don't even want to dream about what he can win us and what we can do. I just want him with us forever. And he doesn't need to win the title every year for me. He doesn't need to win the European Cup 25 times. But I miss that steadiness that we had under Fergie, and that we grew up knowing. That it took me until I was 28, 29 years old to ever have a manager that I questioned his decisions. And I remember going to the FA Cup final in '99, the semi-final replay. And I'll never forget, he started with York and Cole on the bench. And this fella behind me was screaming, "Oh, Fergie, he doesn't even want to win this cup, blah, blah, blah."
Yeah.
And I remember my old man turned around to him and said, "How can you question what Sir Alex Ferguson," he wasn't a sir at the time, "how can you question what Alex Ferguson has, what has he got to do to make his own decisions?" And in the end, it was we all know what happened that game, but it was just one of those things that he could drop York and Cole for the semi-final replay, and you'd be like, yeah, that's probably the best thing to do.
Absolutely, mate. And it's that, but it's also, I think Ollie's brought back the magic as well, hasn't he? He's brought back that united feeling that we've been missing. And I'm not saying, I'm not going to sit here and slag off our ex-managers too much, but they weren't right.
At least not on the first episode.
Absolutely not. But they weren't the right fit, were they? Weren't the right fit at the right time. And maybe our club is so unique that we do need to make unique decisions.
I will go out on a limb and say that David Moyes wasn't the right manager at any time for Manchester United. I think I'll say that for gospel.
That's fair enough, Scott. But in private, you can't stop singing his praises. So anyway, let's we've flown off there and started falling in love with Ollie there. I'll be honest with you, mate. I could talk for the next 3 hours about how much I love Ollie. I'm actually holding myself back here. I absolutely love the guy, but I want to chat a little bit about tonight's events too. Who stood out for you the most tonight? I know you said Pogba was great. There were some good defensive displays too. Do you have a man of the match for me?
It's funny. I was just looking over my notes, and I was going to say Luke Shaw was fantastic today. He really was. Yeah. Great assist for the first goal. He was fantastic defending all game. And then Ashley Young popped up in the last 3 minutes, and he put a dampener on that. So I would actually, if I could, I'd give him each a bottle of champagne for both the fullbacks. I thought both fullbacks were fantastic.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Superb.
And here I was 5 minutes ago saying that Paul Pogba was another out of this world display, but it's I thought the fullbacks were just fantastic today. Slash wingers, they're as high, as high up the pitch as you could possibly think a fullback was going to be. I think we've got to call them wingbacks nowadays, don't we?
Yeah.
Given how high they play.
Yeah, and also I think, you're touching on areas that we potentially before the game were thinking, oh, God, how's this going to go? Because obviously it wasn't our strongest team. And in the areas that we may have been targeted by Palace's pacey wide men, we were pretty strong, weren't we, overall?
Yeah, I thought Delot played well until he went off. I thought he was a great outlet out there. And then when he came off, Ashley Young had a bit more license to roam forward. I'm really impressed by Delot. I think he's going to be a really great player for hopefully a good number of years for us.
I agree. I really like the look of him. Jose's last gift to us. He physically, mentally seems to fit in with the team as well. I really like the look of him. Really do. And he's quite a modern style fullback as well. Pretty both-footed and can slot in at left back as well.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, the most important thing, I think he actually understands Manchester United already. From his attitude, it just seems like I used to always think, God, Patrice Evra, when we got him, he just became the biggest United fan overnight, right? And he, as soon as he became a United player, he was our biggest cheerleader. And I sort of see similarities in Delot and Evra in that respect.
I love what you've touched on there, because I've always had this thing. Obviously, we grew up and we had Fergie's fledglings, and we had all those boys who were United through and through. We knew they grew up supporting United. We knew they never had any reason to doubt, say, Gary Neville. We had never had any reason to doubt that he wasn't more of a Red than us two. We expected, and that's what we had. But there's something very special, I think, about someone coming from abroad, someone who doesn't support United, who comes in, and I'm talking, who I'm talking about here. I'm talking about Eric Cantona. I'm talking about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I'm talking about Patrice Evra, as you said there. There's more I could name. There's plenty I could name. You only have to take one look at Dimitar Berbatov's Instagram to know what's going on. But to me, there's something really special for someone coming and becoming a United fan while they're playing for United. I've got to mention Rio Ferdinand as well. Although he's English, he's come from Leeds. He was captain of Leeds.
Yeah.
Played at West Ham. Didn't support United. He comes to United, and now he is Red through and through. And that to me is as special as having your Garys and your Phils and your Nickies and your Davids and your Paulies in the team as well. Now, obviously, we're lucky because we didn't have to choose. We had both. But yeah, it's really special. I love that too.
Because I think that we identify with them because they've gone down the same road as we have. That there's been a moment that they've absolutely fallen in love with this. It's more than a club. It's a whole way of life, right?
Yes. It's like when someone, they appreciate what we appreciate. They're like, God, this is the greatest club in the world. And we're like, yeah, we told you. Absolutely superb. Like, really, absolutely brilliant. And there was a little treat at the end there, off the bench. What do you think of that then? Young Garner getting a few minutes there.
Well, yeah,
I'm sure you enjoyed that.
I saw him. I was the pre-season game against Real Madrid. I was there and saw him playing against Toni Kroos, and I thought he was good then. But I really there's nothing more than I love than watching a youngster coming through. To be honest, I'm just living vicariously through him. All I ever wanted to do in my life was play for United.
Me too.
And I don't think that's going to happen anymore, so I can just live vicariously through these kids.
Yeah, I've only just started to accept that that's not going to happen, I think 36 is a bit too old to start, isn't it?
Well,
you never know.
You could be on the coaching staff, mate, but yeah, probably too much.
Absolutely.
I will, but before we go on, I just have to say as well that Scott McTominay was really composed in the middle there. Usually he's got a foil with him. He's either got Matic or Herrera coming in to help him out a bit. But I thought he was really good tonight. He showed composure beyond his years, and he really settled that midfield down, especially in those 20 minutes that they were coming at us. He was really good, and credit where it's due.
That's absolutely right, Scott. He actually accepted the added responsibility tonight, didn't he? There was an obvious added responsibility, added pressure, because every man and his dog knew that we were depleted through injuries. And there wasn't, like you said, there wasn't a skeleton around him to protect him. But yeah, he was superb. And yeah, I was so happy to see Garner come on. I know Ollie says he's a Michael Carrick, 20 years, minus 20 years. So if he's anything like that, then we're in for a treat.
And another goal from a corner, Tom.
Yes, Scott. Yes. And who are you crediting for that?
I mean, to be honest, Lukaku made that finish. He made an impossible finish look pretty easy,
He did.
pretty average. And he did with the first goal as well. The first goal was a really tough finish on his supposedly weakest, well, it is his weakest side, but he made it look absolutely effortless.
He did, didn't he? He did. I mean, I must say, actually, I was delighted for Lukaku to grab his brace today, of course. I did think his link-up play was less productive than it is normally, actually. It was very, very loose today, wasn't it?
Because I think, again, usually he's got Rashford playing with him, he's got Martial on the left, and he's got players who can bring the attack with him, right? But I think that when he's playing with such a massive responsibility of, right, you got to lead the line and you got to probably score all the goals as well. He had to play not with his back to goal so much. He had to play, facing forward a bit more. But I thought he was great. That there are a few unlucky moments here and there, but I mean, how we can win 3-1 and you can criticise someone who scored 2 goals, I'll never know.
No, I'm not criticising him at all. I'm just saying that.
No, I'm not saying you, but
I just thought his link-up play was a bit loose. But what I will say is that, and this is the only negative really that I take out tonight, is Alexis Sanchez again. He's trying. I know he's getting involved and whatnot, but it's just not happening.
I think that's the problem, Tom. I think he's just trying too hard, mate.
Yeah.
I think that when strikers have zero confidence, they try twice as hard. I mean, Wayne Rooney was guilty of that, to be honest with you. He was one of our greatest strikers ever. But when he would try too hard, things just wouldn't go right for him.
I know. It's a worry because he's obviously got the best manager possible to coach him out of that, because Ollie was obviously the man who always stays ice cool in front of goal. It's just alarming because he seems to be feeling the pressure. He seems to be, as he was coming off there, he was scratching his ear and throwing his tape down. He seems to be almost accepting that he is on the way.
Yeah, and it's sort of on the opposite scale of what we were saying earlier about Ollie, who's sort of a player who comes from Molde. Even when he was a player, he came in, very little pressure on him, very little expectation on him, and he's come in and he's just taken the job by the scruff of the neck and run with it. And you couldn't have imagined he was going to be a better striker for us or a better manager for us. And you get someone who everyone expects so much of him, and he comes in and there's a massive pressure playing for Man United. Some people get it, some people can't live with it. And I think, unfortunately, mate, as much as I don't like criticising our players, because I really don't, because I can't do any better than Alexis Sanchez. I don't think I could even try as hard as him, because he's given it his all. It's just not coming off.
It's not, and I must say it is getting towards the stage where you kind of think that come the summer that he's kind of got to go. Really, realistically, I mean, we've got such great attacking talent. You look through our front line; it's full of pace, full of youth, exuberance. And if we're going to have an experienced striker in there, you want someone who's setting an example for these youngsters, not the youngsters setting an example for him.
Yeah, but we're also a club that we very, very rarely keep players who are past their peak. And so seeing a player who wasn't as good as before or wasn't as good as we expected him to be is very rare for us, right? It's sort of, as much as I credit him for what he did, the last year or so watching Wayne Rooney was pretty tough, pretty painful to watch. His first touch wasn't as good as it used to be. He had lost that yard of pace. And it was sort of, we very rarely watched a player in decline. And I think Sanchez has peaked. I think, he played a lot of football from the age of 17, 18, 19. And these players, they do get burnt out at the end of their 20s, their early 30s.
He's an emotional princess as well, isn't he? So, he's had his problems with his ex, split up with her. And then things haven't started well for United. And he just seems to lack that United spirit to just dig deep and carry on and just never give up and get through this patch. He seems to be letting it affect him too much. But I don't want to dwell on any negativity too much. It's just honest. I do have to say that it was a continuation of his kind of his fall. Unfortunately.
Yeah, but listen, next game, if he does start next game, I'll still be 100% behind him. I'm pretty sure he's going to play next Wednesday as well, in some role. And we just got to all we can ever do as United supporters is support our Reds, right? We're not we're not people who just slag off people for misplacing passes or for missing shots here and there. All I ever want to do is just support our team.
And Ollie's making it very, very easy to do that, isn't he? He's making it very, very easy to for us to get 100%. I mean, I always am, but there's some fans who sort of do drift, and Ollie is making it very, very easy to just be absolutely head over heels in love with us, the team.
Yeah, he's brought the belief back
now.
and just the pride of being a United fan back. Because there were a few years where it was tough to be proud of being a Red,
Well, we were still proud, but it was we weren't crowing from the rooftops, were we? So what do you think? I mean, in terms of going forward, obviously Ollie's at the wheel. We're looking pretty good. We've got Champions League tie where obviously it's we're in a situation we've got to dig ourselves out of without Paul Pogba and with the injuries we've got. We're obviously marching forward in the FA Cup, and we're sitting still in fifth in the league. Arsenal winning tonight as well. What are your hopes for the end of the season, Scott? What do you think? Is Ole going to lead us to glory?
Well, of course he is, mate. I think that the FA Cup's obviously the big thing. But to be honest with you, before he even came in, no one even had us sniffing at fourth position. They said if he can get us to fourth position, it'll be an absolute miracle. And here we are. We're a point off. And you got to think with the trip to the old Emirates coming up this month, we can definitely be ahead of Arsenal. And I'll be honest with you, Tom. With Tottenham losing again today, I think we're 5 points behind them now. I see us even finishing third, mate.
Looking to reel them in too.
Yeah, why not?
There's absolutely no reason why not at all. I mean, to be honest with you, Tottenham, it's the same old story, isn't it? They get a sniff of the top, they just get their opportunity, and it all falls apart. And I don't think Pochettino helped either last week, did he?
Well, there's another thing we can touch on is how everyone was all over him a few months ago, saying he's the only answer, and after their performance against Burnley and now against Chelsea tonight, and he lost it, mate, and it really did. It reminded me of when the bigger picture's not going for you, it's up, and he was almost conceding the title by going mad at the ref on Saturday, and I don't ever want to see a United manager do that.
No.
As much as Fergie got annoyed with referees and linesmen here and there, he always kept a line, right, and he never crossed it, or didn't cross it very often anyway. But here I am comparing Pochettino to Fergie. I think Fergie allowed himself to do whatever he wanted.
Absolutely, and I will say that I was never convinced with Pochettino. You know me well, and I've always said that I don't know where all the fanfare comes from. To be honest with you, I'm not saying he hasn't done a fantastic job with Spurs, but this is the challenge now, and he's not accepting it. He's not taking them to the next level. Now, effectively, that's what we need, isn't it? We are at that kind of level, and we need someone to take us up to Premier League, Champions League winning standard. And I don't think it's Pochettino.
Yeah, I think that we've learnt from the last. I'm not going to count Giggsy in these managers, but in the last managers, at least with Van Gaal and with Mourinho, that having a manager who's won everything and this and that, it's not the answer. The number one thing I want to see on a resume for or CV for a United candidate is absolute love of Manchester United and understanding that the club is bigger than them and will always be bigger than them, and you just got to come in and steer the ship, mate. Manchester United is going to survive well beyond the next manager. We're bigger than any manager, and we're bigger than any player that ever comes in. Has Pochettino ever done anything for United in the past? No, I would.
I must say I echo your sentiments totally, Scott. I was going to say when you said what the most important thing on their CV is and I was thinking an absolute love for United, and you put it absolutely beautifully. Yeah. And you're totally right. And I think we have learned a lot over the last few years. And if it takes 5 years, 6 years to learn what we knew already, really, with Fergie, that no one's bigger than the club. And we really do need someone with United running through their veins and heart at all times, leading our club. And then you only have to look at the wave of momentum and emotion that the fans create to propel us forward. Because actually, those managers, your Moyes, the Van Gaal and Mourinho, they didn't use the fans as much as they could have. If you rally these fans, they're the best in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially, you've got to say, especially the away fans. I mean, like the fans tonight, they didn't stop all game, right? And the fans at the Emirates a few weeks ago when we were there at the FA Cup were unbelievable. The fans at Chelsea last Monday in the FA Cup tie, unbelievable.
Absolutely fantastic.
Just makes me wish I was there.
Yeah, me too. And I will say we have to spare a mention for the Old Trafford faithful too, because they don't always get the praise they deserve. They don't always put in the performance they should either. But recently, since Ollie's come around, Old Trafford's bouncing as well. And actually, that's something that really, really, really helps the team and really, really creates that cauldron, that place where, like Ollie said, I looked at people in the tunnel and they were looking around at the big stands and everything. And before they knew it, they were 2-0 down.
Yeah.
And what I love is I know that message is being sent to our players now because our manager understands it.
No, you're right. And you do have to say that last Sunday against Liverpool, the fans were fantastic. And without them, it might not have gone as well as it did, to be honest. And I will say that a 0-0 draw, having made all 3 subs after 37 minutes, whatever it was a great result.
It was. I don't think I've ever been so happy with a 0-0 draw of a single leg tie, of course. They're 2-leggers, that's a different story. But a 0-0, so proud of the fans, so proud of the team, so proud of Ole as usual.
You just see the pride that's back, even just being a coach. This Emilio Alvarez, the goalkeeping coach. I've never seen anything like it. He's like a mascot.
He's brilliant. He's absolutely fantastic. He's all over it like a rash. I love it. Absolutely love it.
Because all he does is just echo our sentiments, right?
Yeah, and that's what you want. You want those sentiments, just pure love, pure positivity, spreading through our whole club again, and then no one could stop us. But good times seem around the corner. That's what I'm feeling at the moment, Scott. It looks like we're in for a really, really exciting end to the season. We're going to be recording these podcasts once a week. Look out on our Instagram for when they'll be coming up. Have you got anything to add here, Scott?
No, I think we're going to try and do them on Mondays before Monday Night Football, something like that.
6 till 7. Check out on the Instagram. Obviously, we'll keep that updated and we'll let everyone know. Obviously, it's in its early stages at the moment. But we'll be bringing you all the news, opinions, and we'll have more transfer stuff coming this summer and stuff like that too.
Keep being positive, Reds. We'll be all right. At the end of the day, we support Manchester United. We're the luckiest fans in the world.
Absolutely, buddy. We are indeed. It's been an absolute pleasure, Scott. It's been an absolute pleasure, Reds. We will see you again soon. Cheerio.
Ta-da.